Hi, and welcome to another episode of Pet Pals. I'm Bethany Davidson, the Humane Educator here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. And then animal wrangling for us with Johnny B is our volunteer coordinator, Sean Snyder. And Johnny B has been on the show before, but he's, for whatever reason, been overlooked. I think he's a really nice dog with a very interesting look, and we want to showcase him again today, and he's your best friend now because you took him to an event, and he's like, Sean's my guy. He's got all the treats. So Johnny is about a 2 to 3 year old dog. He came to us as a stray, and he is an active guy. Sometimes Johnny does what they say, that comes in a little hot. Like when you initially meet him, he can be a little overly energetic when you're getting him out of the kennel in the morning, things like that, just because he's so excited. But then he kind of mellows out a little bit. Even today, he came in, all jumping all over the place, and now he's kind of relaxing, paying attention to who has some treats. He's a dog that's going to need a fair amount of exercise. Fenced yards are not requirements to adopt from us, but if you don't have a fenced yard, thinking about alternatives like, long lines where you can take him out somewhere in an open field and have him or even in your backyard and have him feel like he's off leash, or utilizing a lot of the fenced in tennis courts and basketball courts that we have in the area. If nobody's using them, go in there, you can shut the door, then he's able to run around and get that release of all that energy. He, as you have seen, he does know a lot of basic good manners things. So he does know sit. He also knows a down. He knows paw, which a lot of people like. He has been working on taking his treats more gently. In the beginning, he was a little bit grabby and overeager, but he is learning to be more patient and take them much more nicely. But first thing in the morning when he's all amped up, you might want to avoid the, 2-finger treat give, do it with an open hand, or drop it on the ground. So until he kind of relaxes a little bit more.
Yeah. So Johnny was fortunate enough to be part of our Home for the Holidays foster program, and he stayed with a family for a few days, and we learned some additional stuff about him. What was that?
So one of the most important things I think we learned about Johnny is that he is able to navigate living in a multi-dog household. He does well with the other dogs. He does have a higher energy play style, but this family actually had 4 dogs, I think a German Shepherd and then 3 Corgis. And so he was able to figure out how he could interact after just a couple of days with each dog, and found one that was able to play in more of, his style of play. So he is able to navigate those things and peacefully coexist, even if they don't match necessarily his play style. They also stated over and over again that he's a massive cuddler. He is indiscriminate. He will cuddle with anybody. So if, a stranger comes in your house, he's not going to say, hey, you're not supposed to be here. He's going to be like, you want to cuddle me, as his evidence right now, right? He's like, this is what he does with everybody, and this is what he really enjoys, especially if he's had that opportunity to kind of run off some exercise. They were crating him when they were feeding, just because, they had a large number of dogs and he was fine in a crate. But they also noted that he still needed to work on walking nicely on his leash and not pulling. So we got a lot of really good information from that. And hopefully having that information available to the public will maybe help find him the perfect home. If you think your household is the right one for Johnny B, you can go to visit fcac.as.me to book an appointment to meet him. Our next guest is another repeat guest. This is Sarabi. She is our 1-year-old female Mastiff mix, and she's still a little shy. She's definitely a dog that takes some time to warm up. In fact, we had to call in a kennel tech to get her to come into the room. She was like, I'm not going in there without one of my people. So she is a dog that you still kind of need to warm up to, but she is doing much better. And in terms of her personality, she is playful and affectionate. In my experience, she's a bit of a treat snob. She's like, that's not a good enough snack. Sorry, that has no flavor. I don't want to eat that. But one of the main reasons I wanted to showcase her again on the show is because recently we discovered some medical things about Sarabi that we need people to be aware of if they're going to make her part of their family, because those medical expenses could be a little high, and not everybody is prepared to take those things on. So not that long ago, Sarabi had a stumble out in the yard. And then we discovered later, after some trips to the vet and things like that, that Sarabi has a pretty common condition in dogs of her breed and size. She has hip dysplasia. And because she has some hip dysplasia, that has trickled, which is a genetic thing, that has trickled down into other aspects of her body. So she has some luxating patellas. So that's like some things going on in her knees. So, those are things that, may have more arthritis, may limit her mobility a little bit. Right now, she seems pretty okay, but she's a dog that is going to need more frequent trips to the vet. I think right now we have that she's recommended to maybe go see an orthopedic surgeon to see what is recommended. Does she need surgery? Is it better for her or worse for her in the long run? Because there are some potential things if she's getting surgery now, she's putting more weight on another leg, things like that. So anybody who's interested in Sarabi should be fully reading her medical, maybe even talking to their vet about it before signing up to take her. She also needs to be on different joint supplements to kind of help stave off arthritis and things like that. But otherwise, a wonderful dog that's going to be a great member of a family. And because she did come in with Mufasa, she is used to being around another dog and could probably be happy in a multi-dog household.
So you mentioned her medical, spoke extensively about it. So what's that mean as far as her activity level, what she can do, maybe what she can't do?
So Sarabi is going to be more of like your house and yard dog. She's going to lay around in your house and be happy and play a little bit. Maybe do a little bit of light exercise in your backyard, but always on, leash walks. But she's not going to be a hiking companion. She's not going on, mile-long walks and things like that. That's going to be a little excessive for her. Definitely not a farm dog that's just going to run your property. We want to make sure that we're keeping an eye on the activity level and making sure it's appropriate. She's getting rest when she needs it so it doesn't exacerbate her condition. But obviously always talking to your vet about what is and is not appropriate in terms of her activity level. We are looking for an adopter for Sarabi, but we are also actively looking for a rescue organization that would be able to pull her and help her with her medical and find an adopter that is well suited to care for her condition. So if you are interested in adopting her, you can always go to visit fcac.as.me to book that appointment to meet her. But if you're a rescue, you can always give us a call at 301-600-1546 to figure out how the rescue placement process works, not only for Sarabi, but for any of our available animals. The last dog we have for you today is not only one of the youngest dogs that we have available for adoption, but one of the smallest. She's a little bit of a low rider. This is Bellatrix, or Bella. She's about 7 months old. We just have her down as a terrier mix, whether she's mixed with some sort of dachshund or some sort of short hound. It's hard to tell, but she is a dog that's probably not going to get a ton bigger. She might fill out a little bit more, get a little bit taller, but she's going to be a relatively small dog. Right now, she's just over 30 pounds. So if you're looking for something smaller, or if your apartment has weight restrictions, then maybe Bellatrix might be a good option for you. We are looking for homes with teens and adults only, just because she is a little bit of a shyer dog. So we did have her in a foster home just to get her a little bit more socialized, and there were a lot of other pets and a lot of younger children and a lot of activity, and that was something that made Bellatrix very uncomfortable. So we're also looking for a quieter home. So if you have a super active house, yes, she's really cute, but she might not be as comfortable there. So we want to make sure we're finding her a space where she can build her confidence and feel safe and comfortable. She is a dog that, in my experience, is playful. She's still kind of figuring out, do I trust you yet or not? But she likes to play bow, and she likes to run and chase and do those types of things. But she is definitely needing to build up her trust with humans. But her trust with other dogs seems to be fine. She reacted favorably to all the other dogs that she was walking by and encountering. So it's possible that another dog in the household could help build her confidence and make her feel comfortable. We do require meet and greets with existing dogs if you're looking to take one of our dogs home, just to make sure that that's nothing that's going to be overwhelmingly negative in terms of either dog. Make sure that it's something that can be workable and that they could get along and coexist.
So you've mentioned that she's building trust with people, learning to trust. What can people do to help her make her feel more comfortable around them?
Sure. So the most important thing when you're working with timid dogs is just to be patient, right? Sometimes they don't want to walk on lead. They're really cautious. And you want to make sure you're never pulling them or forcing them to do things. Luring them with treats can be helpful sometimes because they're like, oh, I like that treat. I'm going to go and get that. And then they're like, oh, it's not so bad. Oh, there's another treat. Oh, this place means treats. I like this treats because they have this place because of the treats. It's a positive association. But also using kind of calm voices, really especially when you're first meeting a dog, getting down really low because that makes you less intimidating. And she's already a smaller dog, so standing over her can be really upsetting and fear-inducing. Turning your body at an angle can also make you a little bit less threatening. But also, a lot of people tend to pet their dogs directly overhead, kind of like this, which can be scary. So going down, letting them sniff you, going under their chin a little bit is going to be a way that's going to be much less stressful for the dog. And just remembering, yes, Frederick is super dog friendly, but not every dog wants to go to the brewery or go to First Friday or Fire and Ice and things like that, and understanding that at least right now, Bellatrix is not that dog. If you think that you have the quiet home that Bellatrix needs and you are patient enough to help her learn to trust not only your family but all humans, then you can go to visit fcac.as.me to make an appointment to meet her and start that process. We're going to do a little something different for the next couple of animals. We don't really talk a lot about our small animal population, but we have a fair amount right now. Not as many as we've had, but they're not really getting adopted. We're not getting a lot of applications for them. And right now we have a bunch of rabbits as well as a bunch of guinea pigs. So today I was going to talk a little bit about Blazy. Blazy is one of our male guinea pigs. He's about 2 years old. One of our previously owned animals, so Blazy was his name. Guinea pigs, you can get them at the pet store, right? But they're usually like $25 at the pet store. Here, 2 for $15. Right? Great deal, right? So it's 1 for $10 or 2 for $15. So it's a great deal. And our vets do check them out. Our medical staff, they get Revolution. We make sure their nails are trimmed. We make sure that they're healthy enough to go into a home. So there's that benefit of going here instead of the pet store, and we typically always have a couple of guinea pigs hanging around. So Blazy is tan and white. He was previously owned, so again, we have a little bit of information. They say that he is a more social guy, not a lot of handling experience in terms of wanting to be picked up and things like that, but very friendly, will come out. And guinea pigs, we were talking between the break, like guinea pigs are a pretty cool small animal to have. They make about 11 different noises, so you can kind of tell how they're feeling. They communicate with their body language as well, so it's really easy to kind of engage with them. They are very social, so they do enjoy having a friend, but they also are very human social too, and they pick up on cues so quickly. Like we were just talking about, when you open the refrigerator, they all start squealing with delight because they know that noise means, oh, I'm going to get some veggies or some fruit or things like that. And that's another thing that's really important with guinea pigs, is remembering that you have to properly know how to maintain them, right? They're a cute pet. A lot of people think they're a good first pet, but they have a lot of care requirements. So cleaning their cage. In terms of their diet, they need their pellets and their hay, and they need their veggies, and you have to introduce veggies properly and slowly, and they need their nails trimmed, and they need things to chew on. So you really want to make sure that you're doing your research before you take that step to adopt one. We have a flyer now that we call the Guinea Pig Resource Center, because so many people were adopting them and not really realizing what it took. So we can hand that out to you, which has a lot of resources where you can go and learn more about how to properly care for them to make that experience not only a good one for you, but for your pet.
So Blazy did come in with another guinea pig, but we don't have them as going together. So why is that?
So typically when guinea pigs do come in together, we do bond them because guinea pigs are super social. In fact, in some countries, it's illegal to own just one guinea pig. That's how social they are. They're also prey animals, and so they need that friend to make them feel safe, like somebody's got their back. So Blazy and Speedy came in together. They were housed together, but our enclosures are not as big as maybe some guinea pigs need. And so these two guys were fighting in their enclosure. So we separated them for safety reasons. So they could be adopted out individually. But if you wanted to adopt them both, and you have a larger enclosure, you could reintroduce them to each other and they could go home together. We just don't want them to hurt themselves here in a smaller cage environment. So again, just thinking about, do you have a larger cage? Or even if you don't, you have two smaller ones, you can put them next to each other and then have them in an exercise pen playing and things like that, and then putting them back in their smaller housing units. So there's ways to work around that, but that's the reason that we did that. So in general, if you see guinea pigs that are separated, they either came in individually or were fighting with their mate. If they're in a cage together, we usually require that you adopt both of them together. If you're looking for guinea pigs, we have Speedy, Blazy, and a bunch of others. So I think there's Cookie, and then there's some cinnamon toast and biscuit.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of options back there. If you're wanting to meet any of those guys, you want to go to visit fcac.as.me. Next, I want to talk about some of our rabbits. We currently have 5 rabbits on our adoption floor, all females, so it's a sorority back there. And the newest addition to that little group is Julia. She's our 7-year-old American mixed rabbit. And she really stands apart because she's a totally different color. All the rabbits back there are black except for Julia. She's got this great tan brown color. A little bit older. Another thing that I really like about Julia, and I'm not really a rabbit person, I'm open about it, but Julia's growing on me. She is incredibly friendly. A lot of our rabbits come in, they're a little bit shy, a little bit standoffish, whether they've been stray and not really handled enough, or, they're just unfamiliar in the environment and uncomfortable. But Julia is comes right up to you. She will literally lay in your lap. She's a lap bunny. She likes to be petted. I opened the carrier to take her to one of our radio events the other day. She just hopped in the carrier on her own. Normally that's a big deal. It's very time consuming. And she just hopped right in and was like, okay. Took her to the radio. She just hung out. She just was happy to be, hopping around, wasn't overly stressed. So she is, again, proper research is required for some of these animals. But if you were looking to get a rabbit as your first rabbit, I think Julia would be a good one because she is very handleable. We do have a lot of good information from her previous owners about things that she likes, things that she doesn't like, how she was handled. But just like with the guinea pigs, rabbits have special care needs. They need their hay and their pellets and their veggies, and they need things to chew on. People don't realize rodents, their teeth keep growing. So if they don't have something to chew on to keep their teeth short, that can become a medical problem. And the great thing about adopting a rabbit from animal control is we make sure all of our rabbits are spayed and neutered. So you don't have to deal with potential medical issues or, potty accidents, because a lot of rabbits after they've been altered are better about using their litter box. So there's a lot of great benefits from getting a rabbit from animal control as opposed to a pet store, as well as with those guinea pigs.
So you had mentioned that Julia's family surrendered her because they couldn't keep her. Why couldn't they keep her?
So we talked about this at the radio a little bit. With her family, they were moving to a place that did not allow pets. Some places don't allow pets at all. Some places don't allow certain types of dogs, certain types of cats, or in a lot of places they don't allow rabbits because rabbits chew. And so that can be a safety hazard. So that's one of the things you need to think about if you're making a rabbit part of your family. If they're going to be able to free roam, because some people do that, they let them roam like a cat in their household. You need to make sure you're protecting all of your wires because that could be a fire hazard. And so that's one of the reasons that people are not as inclined to let rabbits live in a rental property. But also they're seen as rodents, especially guinea pigs and hamsters. We don't want infestations and things like that. But definitely taking into consideration that you're going to have to protect your wires in your home. Carpets and things like that, they also like to chew on. So that was unfortunately the reason, but you can definitely tell that she was loved, and now she's ready to be loved by another family. If you think that your family is the right one to give Julia that little retirement home that she needs, then you can go to visit fcac.as.me to book that appointment to meet her. Our last animal guest today is another one of our rabbits. It happens to be our longest rabbit resident. Anne Bonnie came to us back in July. So she's been with us about more than 6 months now, right? and she's one of our black rabbits. She is a little bit larger than the others. We have her down as a Flemish giant mix. She's not a full size, but she is a little bit longer, has that bigger doulop or whatever it's called. She came into us as a stray. We get tons of domestic rabbits as strays. Now, whether that's people are just telling us it's a stray and it's actually their own rabbit, or people no longer can care for them and they think, well, rabbits live outside. I'll just put this rabbit outside and it'll be fine. Domestic house rabbits are not equipped to live outside. So we would much prefer that if you are a Frederick County resident and you can't care for your rabbit any longer, make that appointment to surrender them to us so that we can make sure that they're safe, because these guys are not equipped to find their own food because it's been provided to them for so long. They're also not equipped to avoid predators, especially rabbits like Anne. So we just want to make sure that everybody's safe. But it is crazy the amount that we get as stray, and because rabbits are harder to age, like Anne, we just say that she's an adult. We can tell adult or juvenile, but we can't say this rabbit is 3 years old. This rabbit is 2 years old. So it's going to be an estimate. We do encourage people to take all their animals to the vet, although sometimes small animals don't get that as much. So your vet might be able to help you better age a stray rabbit that you've adopted from us, but we don't have an age listed for her. She is not as affectionate as, say, Julia, but she does allow petting. She is very curious. She loves all the things that bunnies love, treats and their hay. And she has been altered, and she has been pretty good about keeping her kennel clean and using her litter box. So that's something that's going to, make her a good rabbit to have as a pet.
Yeah. So Julia, our last rabbit, her color is a standout in the room. Mm-hmm. But Anne Bonet has something special about her as well. What's that?
So she came in with, she has a congenital condition with one of her legs, and it's basically a club foot. So it's shorter, like the toes are a little bit weird. It just kind of sticks out to the side, but it doesn't affect her at all. Like, she hops around and does everything she needs to do. And then when she sits, it just kind of, most bunnies are kind of tucked in a loaf, whereas she has like a little kickstand that sticks out a little bit when she's loafing, and it doesn't stop her. It's not something that you need to worry about in the future, but it is just something that you need to be aware of, which is another reason that she needs to be inside, because she cannot escape as fast from predators. And all of our rabbits are adopted for a fee of $50. So that includes that spay or neuter. And, if you've never had a rabbit before, we do provide adoption counseling to make sure that you're prepared and give you some resources so that you can properly take care of your rabbits. If you want to make sure that Anne no longer continues to be our longest rabbit resident and you want to make her part of your family, you can go to visitfcac.as.me to book an appointment to meet her. We hope that you enjoyed meeting some different residents here at Frederick County Animal Control this week. Tune in next week to see what else we have available for adoption.